Hi there. Hello and welcome. Adam Thomas from Balancing Touch Reflexology. So great to see you, and thanks again for joining me on this video. How much pressure should you use during a reflexology session? In today's video, I want to talk about a couple pointers, and also I want to share with you a really cool tip that you can tell easily just by looking at somebody if they would prefer a lighter or a deeper touch. So on my intake form, I have a question asking if they have had reflexology before. And then I have a follow-up question asking, what was that experience like? And it's really interesting because a lot of people that have come to see me have either said, oh, I love reflexology. It makes me, I've fallen asleep a couple times and it's, something that's so relaxing. I can't get enough of it. And that's why I'm here. And I'll get also some other people on the totally opposite side of that saying, it was so painful and I don't know why I'm here to experience reflexology again, because the first session that I had was so, uncomfortable and just plain painful, right? There are some people too that have had reflexology before that also the pressure was too light. They didn't feel anything. Was it actually doing anything? And I'm glad that I have this question on my intake form because it really allows me, it gives me one hint at least as to where this person stands on like the pressure. If it was too painful for them, then I can kind of gauge and ask them, is this a good pressure for them? If people were, getting a great session before, I can ask them how I can adjust my pressure, right? So that's one tip, is just having something on your intake form to be able to get a gauge of where you can ask a question, because they understand reflexology, they've had it before, and there's a gauge. They know what it was like before and they know what they're feeling right now, and how can, I can ask questions on how can I adjust my pressure to suit something that you're going to like, right? So what happens if somebody comes to you who's never had reflexology before? Now you don't really have a gauge to work with. Have you ever asked somebody, how hard should I press when I shake your hand? Of course you haven't. It's kind of a weird thing. You just instinctively go up and shake somebody's hand, right? And either we're taught to like, okay, get right in there and give a firm handshake, or, we kind of don't feel comfortable shaking somebody's hand, and, it can be a little bit awkward sometimes, right? And so right now, if you went around and you shook a bunch of people's hands, you would become aware that everybody's pressure is different. And you would also probably become aware that you kind of adapt your pressure as each person you're getting, introduced to, right? And so this is a really interesting point, because instinctively some of us, anyway, not all of us, because I know when you go around and shake people's hands, there's always somebody who's too strong for you, or there's somebody that kind of gives you the limp hand. Most everybody that's doing massage or reflexology or in this umbrella, I'm quite confident that, you're able to read the person and be able to adjust your pressure to what that person's needs are, right? But again, it's a really important point that everybody needs a different pressure. We're not all the same, right? So when you're going into a reflexology session, you can't always do your like, okay, this is how I do reflexology, right? I guess you can, but I really like to adjust my pressure as I'm going in and meeting people, right? Because you'll just notice that you become sensitive to what their needs are, and that can make a whole world of a difference. So something else to take into account is just by the general look of the person as well. And this is probably what you will understand when you go up and shake people's hands and stuff. But somebody who's a slender build, kind of thin-skinned, light-haired person probably would lean towards more of a, lighter touch. Whereas somebody that's kind of more robust and, large boned and sort of like, thicker skin looking type of a person, most likely is going to want that deeper, firmer pressure, right? It's too general, right, to just look at somebody's, body shape and judge that way. But something else to get even way to the point, and this is the trick that I wanted to share with you, is it's all in the forehead. If you can see lines, okay, that's what we're looking for here, is lines in the forehead. See, if I go like that, I'll pronounce my lines. And I have quite deep grooves, especially when I lift my eyebrows like this. And it's not only about age, because I am, getting older, like we all are, right? But even younger people, that they will have and show lines across their forehead. So just look for that. And if they do have lines, that means that there's a lot of more insulation around the nerve ending. And so this person, people that do have lines, this person needs a deeper, firmer pressure to get at those nerve endings, right? Whereas somebody that has zero lines, even when they, kind of look surprised, that person definitely needs a lighter, more kind of like caring touch, right? And so this is a really cool thing. This has really, taught me a lot, and it's a funny one too to play with. For example, me knowing myself, I have these, insulation, so I'm a little bit less sensitive to some kind of situations. For example, I'll see the pot on the stove boiling over, and I will just automatically run up and grab it and move it off the element. And I'll probably burn myself on the way because I'm not thinking about it. Whereas somebody who doesn't have any of the wrinkles are really conscious, and also, they're more kind of sensitive to the situation. So they probably look for, turn off the dial, look for the mitt, and simply move it off that way, right? Another one that I find that's quite hilarious is I'll run a bath for myself, and without even checking it, I'll just jump right in, and I'll be going, oh, ouch, 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 and I'll sort of like jump up on the edge of the tub, holding myself as I'm like adding cold water to the tub. Where somebody on the other side of things, they will know exactly what temperature it is before they even, attempt to put their body in it. So yeah, these are just kind of like funny little things. And it works also in kind of more like a social setting. Somebody like me will go to maybe, some sort of party or gathering, and I'll have to be there for a good while before I'll understand that it's like, okay, yeah, I'm not really this is not for me, right? Where somebody that's, more, where they have less insulation around their nerve endings, they're going to sense it right at the door that this is probably not something that they're into, right? And will probably leave the party a lot earlier. So it's really interesting, just how we're all built and we're all the differences we need. But again, it comes down to everyone needs a different pressure. So by looking at their foreheads of people, you can get a lot of information. So back to the shaking of hands, you can tell by looking at people, just looking at their eyes and saying hi, and as you're approaching, you can sort of check their forehead, and that will allow you to know, okay, yeah, I need to apply more deep pressure because they have these lines on their forehead. Or, oh, they have, very thin looking skin, and they don't have any lines. Okay, I'm gonna be a little more gentle with this person, right? As far as, gripping their hand and things like that. So it's really great. So in your reflexology practice as well, I kind of like hope that you'll take some of this information, and when you first meet somebody, you'll be able to go engage, oh, okay, cool, that's what that person is needing, right? Because really what it is, it's allowing us to have some tools to allow that person to be who they are, right? If they want a deeper pressure and you don't give that to them, they might feel a little bit uncomfortable, right? There might be this little bit of, confusion. And so what this little technique does is it removes a lot of the confusion and gives the client, and also making your session a lot better, right? Because if you see somebody that comes in and they're robust and they have these deep lines, then yeah, it might be a little bit more work, but what they're going to really appreciate is maybe a more firm handshake, and they're going to appreciate a bit more of a deeper pressure. And of course, you're always checking in with the clients, right? But at least this little trick for me has allowed me to know on what side of the scale I need to be working with, and then check in with the client, right? That way I'm not overly checking in, and then they might not think that I'm as confident as I am in my practice, right? So food for thought. It's been really useful for me, and I wanted to share it with you. And please play with this stuff. See what it's like to, you know, gauge other people's handshakes. It's a really great place to start, and see if there are some changes you made. Also, on your intake form, if you don't have the question about, you know, what other sessions or therapies or, you know, things like that have they had, and also what was their experience about it, I would really recommend adding it, because it gives you a lot of information, and it's interesting. Because yeah, basically we want our reflexology sessions to be the best they can, and so having these little tricks and things like that, it's helped me, so hopefully it helps you. So let me know. Anyway, that's all I have for today. All about pressure. All right. Take care, and happy reflexology, and until our paths meet again, catch you later. Bye-bye. Let me know what you thought of this video by leaving a comment below. Any type of feedback can be useful. If you like this video, you can give it a thumbs up. And if you found it useful, feel free to share it with anybody who might be interested. Make sure that you have subscribed to this channel if you haven't already. And make sure that you hit, or better yet, step on that bell icon so you know when the next video is coming out. And if you have some more time, why don't you check out some other videos? Till next time, this is Adam Thomas from balancingtouch.ca.